I bet you're still scratching your head wondering, where in the heck did this indictment for Donald Trump come from up in Manhattan? What was this district attorney thinking? I mean, this was already investigated by Congress. They had hearings about this whole thing. They didn't do anything. Justice Department and the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York, they investigated. They didn't do anything. The old district attorney in Manhattan, he investigated. He didn't do anything, but suddenly Alvin Bragg's decided Donald Trump needs to be indicted. Where did this come from? How did this happen? Well, the answer might surprise you. Actually, sadly, it won't surprise you, but it's still just as infuriating. Joining us now to reveal all is Margot Cleveland. She's the senior legal correspondent at the Federalist. She wrote about this earlier today. It's a great column, as usual, Margot. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Larry.
So I think I laid it out right. I mean, that's sort of the progression and timeline here. Pretty major legal minds and political minds who are no friends of Donald Trump. They looked at this. They didn't bring the indictment. So what brought Alvin Bragg to this moment in history?
Well, politics is really what it comes down to. New Yorkers hate Donald Trump, and Bragg's ran on the I have investigated, I have held him responsible based on his time with the Attorney General's office. So one thing I would clarify is that Vance actually had pushed for an indictment and had basically handed it off to Bragg.
Okay.
And this is where we're going to start to unravel this. You said the greatest legal minds looked at this and said, you know, there's no there. What Vance did, though,
and by the way, I just want to jump in. Vance is the predecessor to Alvin Bragg as district attorney in Manhattan. And by the way, yes, he did invent. Well, I guess what I'm saying is during those years when Trump was president and the intervening year, he didn't bring it up. Now suddenly he does. He hands it off. Okay,
yes,
take it away.
Absolutely. So he hands it off. So it was the prior DA. And what he did is he actually put together a brain trust. This is something that's in addition to what was in my article. So what he originally did was get a bigwig lawyer at a firm called Weiss, which has since been talked about, called the Biden era, New York bigwigs. This law firm in New York is a partner as Chuck Schumer's brother, ran a big fundraiser for Biden, has one of the biggest bundlers for Biden. They lent Vance one of their top attorneys.
So I just want to understand this so that people understand. This is a lawyer working for a private firm that was just lent out. And did the taxpayers of Manhattan have to pay this person's salary, or this was just...
We don't know what happened as far as the salary. Most likely, the law firm did not continue to pay this individual.
Okay.
Although I reached out and asked, because it wasn't just him. After Braggs was elected, 2 more lawyers were lent to this from the law firm to the Manhattan office. But I have not gotten any response as to what any compensation was. Were they cured benefits? Did they get a bonus when they returned to the firm?
Right.
But let's
will the firm get special treatment from the DA's office or the Attorney General's office in the future? So he's assembling this posse of private lawyers, of civilian lawyers who aren't part of the government, and they come and they help put together this case.
They do. And in addition, it was reported that as the former DA's term, Vance, was ended, he put together this brain trust that included 2 former top-level special counsel Robert Mueller attorneys to help look at this. Even then, what happened? Bragg gets elected. All of a sudden, Pomerance, who was the first bigwig attorney from the private firm, resigns, and his letter is leaked to the New York Times. And he says, look, this has been indefinitely put on hold. He's not going to the grand jury, and Donald Trump has committed crimes. So think about what this is. A private attorney who is working in this special assignment with the Manhattan DA, goes public with this resignation. And after that happens, what does Bragg do? Bragg brings in someone to jumpstart it. Who? Somebody who was the number 3 guy in the Biden administration's Department of Justice. He jumpstarts it with 2 of these, again, private law firms, attorneys working on the case. And then voila, what do we have? We have Donald Trump indicted in a pathetic indictment that is so poor, you actually have the left, the middle, and the right saying this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Mr. Pomerance, by the way, Mr. Pomerance is supposed to be testifying behind closed doors to the House Judiciary Committee about this. He went out and he wrote a book, didn't he, making the case for this indictment against Donald Trump. And you're telling me the number 3 at Merrick Garland and Joe Biden's Justice Department, he had been appointed by the president to work in the Justice Department. He leaves and goes to work directly for this district attorney's office for the sole purpose of indicting Donald Trump.
He was the one who was to jumpstart it, according to the New York Times. And
wow.
You know the New York Times is in with these people.
Oh, yeah.
We don't just have a pathetic indictment. We have an indictment brought by someone who had the man and could not find the crime. So what does he do? He brings in these outsiders to come up with a crime. And still, what was this that they could get? This idea that there's some crime that they don't even tell us. Oh yeah, he falsified business records to commit this other crime, but doesn't tell us what this other crime is.
Yeah.
This is appalling. This is basically out-communizing the commies. It's ridiculous that this is going on.
As you brilliantly write in your column, you know, Joseph Stalin said, "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime." In this case, it's lend me your top attorneys, you know, and let them leave their $1 million law firm job for a few months, and then we'll find you the crime. That's really what happened here.
It is absolutely what happened. I'm surprised that this is not getting more coverage. I know that the corrupt corporate media doesn't want to cover anything that could help Trump. This is scandalous. This is beyond what the indictment was. It is actually worse because they got this pathetic indictment based on all these pro-Biden attorneys who came in.
These are well-funded, well-placed Democrats in the private sector who just, you know, volunteer their time, or who knows how they got paid, but they decided to go and work for the guy. And is this common that a lawyer from the private sector would go and work for a DA's office or the U.S. Attorney's office?
No, it isn't. In fact, when the first attorney, Pomerance, came over, the New York Times, who was reporting on this, said 2 things that were important. One, they said he had previously been volunteering his time. Now that's crazy.
Volunteering.
But second, they said this is rare that this is going to happen. But it wasn't just him. It was 2 more people from his firm. And the Attorney General for New York then also lent one of her lawyers to the DA.
So this was a full court press. They said, we got to get Trump, let it loose, let's go. And by the way, they waited until now. They waited until after he announced his candidacy, and now here we are, a year away from the political conventions of 2024.
Absolutely. And you actually had line prosecutors who were saying, we don't want to work on this. We think that you're going too fast to get Trump. We think that this is too shaky of a case. The indictment that went against the Trump Corporation that was based on executives getting fringe benefit pay and not reporting taxes on it, half of the trial team was special assistant district attorneys, outside attorneys who came in to prosecute the case. I don't know who is going to be working on this indictment against Trump, but it wouldn't surprise me if you have a similar stacked outside attorneys doing it.
Margot Cleveland, we got to leave it there, sadly. There's so much to this story, but I love that you highlighted so much of it, and I really tell you, you got to read the article at thefederalist.com and everything Margot Cleveland writes. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight.